Hi there everyone, welcome to my Read Aloud. I am using the book The Lincolns, a scrapbook look at Abraham and Mary by Candace Fleming. Okay, so this is a read aloud which would be aimed at a social studies class which is gathering information about various presidents, and I'm going to use the example of Abraham Lincoln. So I want to find out about Abraham Lincoln. So I'm going to, I'm in this book and I'm flicking through until I find this real start of the book. I've gone through timelines and I've gone through all sorts, and I really want the start of the book. So here we are. This looks like a good place to begin. And the first thing that I do as a reader is I check the title, and it says Humble Beginnings. So my prediction is that this book, this section of the book is about the early days of Abraham Lincoln and probably his birth. The next thing that I do, because it's a non-fiction book, is I check out all of the images, because I know that the images are a shortcut route to telling me what this section is about, because they're going to relate directly to what the text says. So rather than having to read all of this, I can just look at the images, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm looking here and I can see that it's an image of some men on horseback with some dogs. I don't really know what it's about, so my next thing is, as a reader, is I read the title. Okay, so it says, a painting showing the wilds of Kentucky as they looked around the time of Abraham's birth. So the first thing I know is, oh, I was correct in my prediction that this section was about his birth, because it just told me that. And this tells me that this is an image of Kentucky, so I'm going to guess that he was born in Kentucky. Next down is the images here. I don't know who these people are, so again I'm going to read the title, and it says, an undated photograph of Abraham's father, Thomas Lincoln. So that's really interesting. Here's a picture of Abraham Lincoln's father, and to me, who wants to know more about Abraham Lincoln, I have no idea what his father looked like, and I didn't know his name, so I've now learned he's called Thomas Lincoln. This is what he looked like. Over here, I'm going to guess if this is father, then I'm going to guess that this is going to be mother. Let's see. A modern day portrait of Abraham's mother by Nancy Hanks. Yeah, so my reading brain was correct in its prediction that this was going to be his mom, and it is, and his mom was called Nancy Hanks, which I didn't know before. Also worth noting that that bit of information, a modern day portrait, tells us that this is not an original photograph or drawing. This is an image of somebody's representation of her that's been done within the previous 50 years or so. Over here, I've got, looks like a picture of an original document. I'm going to guess it's from the time of when Abraham was born. And I'm reading the title, and it says, this church document records Thomas and Nancy's marriage. So I was just told over here that this was Thomas and this was Nancy. So I now know, putting those bits of information together, that this is their marriage certificate, which is very interesting. So Abraham Lincoln's parents' marriage certificate. And then the final image of the page is of a log cabin, and I'm going to guess that this is going to be the log cabin where Abraham Lincoln was born, which is quite exciting. To check my prediction, I go up to the title at the top, and it says, the cabin at Sinking Spring Farm, Kentucky, where Abraham was born in 1809. So this is indeed the log cabin where Abraham Lincoln was born over 200 years ago, which is quite fantastic. Now, the next thing I do as a reader is I'm combing on the bit that is most interesting for me. And because I'm doing research into Abraham Lincoln and his early days and his birth, the first thing I want to know about what is his actual birth. So I'm going to concentrate on this log cabin, because I think this is going to tell me the most about that. And I know that I need to read this section because this is the section that is marked in with the photograph and the title. So here we go, let's read it together. It says, on the 12th of February, a Sunday, Thomas Lincoln suddenly appeared at his sister-in-law's cabin nearly 2 miles away. Now we know that this is Thomas Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's father. So we know that Abraham Lincoln's father suddenly appeared at his sister-in-law's house. Nancy got a baby boy, he announced. So we know that probably Abraham Lincoln's just been born, and because Nancy is his wife. It was the Lincoln's second child. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting, because I didn't know that Abraham Lincoln had an older brother or sister. So that's quite interesting. 10-year-old Dennis Hanks remembered what happened next. As a reader, I'm trying to figure out who 10-year-old Dennis Hanks might be. And I can use my bit of information from this photograph, and that we find out that Nancy Hanks was Abraham Lincoln's mother. So Dennis Hanks must be a relation of hers. Because he's 10, I'm going to guess that he's either a younger brother or a cousin. Okay. Sorry, a nephew of Nancy's. So 10-year-old Dennis Hanks remembered what happened next. I cut and run to see my new cousin. Aha! So it's Nancy Hanks's nephew, Abraham Lincoln's cousin. After all, babies wasn't as common as blackberries in the wood, oh Kentucky. As a reader, I'm thinking, oh, this is all written in very naturalistic language. It's kind of colloquial speak, so it's quite tricky to read. When Dennis burst into the Lincoln cabin, he found Nancy laying there in a bed of poles and corn husks. I don't know what poles are, but I know that corn husks are obviously the husks from corn. So I'm imagining that she's lying in a stack of vegetable remnants from the fields, I guess, so that the bed sheets wouldn't get stained from the baby being born. I've got this image in my head of her being surrounded in these corn husks and what have you, and sat in the middle of it all. Tom had built up a good fire and thrown a bear skin over the covers to keep them warm. Mother came over and washed the baby and put a yellow flannel petticoat on him. I'm going to guess that yellow is a colloquialism for yellow, and a flannel petticoat, just a little kind of dress that they put on a baby. And cooked some dried berries with wild honey for Nancy, and slicked things up and went home. And that's all the fuss that either of them got. Just as a reader, I'm quite enjoying the language here. I think it's quite fun. I'm not quite sure what slick things up means, but I'm going to guess that slick, to make something slick, is to make it streamlined and neat. So I guess that she tidied things up and then she went home. And I like this sentence, and that's all the fuss either of them got. Basically, it wasn't a big deal. It was a baby. They came over, they made berries, they washed the baby, they put a petticoat on the baby, and there was a fire set. And things were tidied up, and then everyone went home. That was it. The baby was born. The baby, dark-haired and grey-eyed, was named Abraham after Thomas's pioneer father. So we now know, or I now know, that Abraham was named after his grandfather, who was a pioneer. And this piece of information gives me a really strong image that he was from very humble beginnings and very simple pioneer stock, nothing fancy or rich, very basic life. And those are the strategies that I used to pick apart this book. I looked at the title, I looked at the images, I looked at the titles for the images, and then I homed in on the section that I wanted to read. And from the text, I had images of what came to mind from that text, and I used my prior knowledge to make sense of the language that was in there. I hope that was useful, and I hope you enjoyed my read aloud. Thank you very much.